Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Mindset Meetup. We are so happy to have you here with us today. My name is Ria and I'm a mindset mentor. And this is...
I am Virginia and I'm also a mindset mentor. But today I will be doing live scribing, which means I'm doing notes in a visual way.
We've been putting out loads of new content for you guys on our Instagram page, Share the Mindset, and specifically about two skills that we're going to be discussing today. And those are one, mindfully and effectively. Exactly. And if you guys have any questions, any thoughts, any comments, today is your chance to pop them in the Q&A box and we can answer them live in this next 30-minute session. So please ask your questions and we will answer them.
And please make it mindset specific. We don't want to hear questions like, oh, how'd you do your hair like that?
Exactly. So now I'm going to pass it on to Daryl, who is our resident therapist, and we are going to start by doing a mindfulness exercise. Over to you, Daryl.
Yeah, hi. I don't know what to say now because my first question was to Virginia, how do you do your hair like that? So now I don't know. Now I don't know what to say. Okay, so we're going to start with, hi everyone, we're going to start with a mindfulness exercise. And really the exercise itself isn't so important as these three things. First of all, being able to practice controlling your attention. That's the main thing. Next is about your awareness, like what do you notice while you're doing it? And the next one is to be able to cope with whether it's difficult or whether it's easy or whatever. So we're going to practice that. So what I'm going to ask you to do for the next 2 minutes is just follow. I'm going to give you an instruction and you're going to stay with the instruction and your mind's going to wander because everyone's mind does wander. And when it does, I just want you to notice your mind wandering and just go back to whatever the task is. So I'm going to hope that Ria and Virginia are going to follow this as well. So putting your feet flat on the floor. And what I want you to do is I want you to place your left hand on your right shoulder, just at the top, and your right hand on your left shoulder. Yeah. And with your feet firmly on the ground, I'm taking mine away just while I ring the bell. What I want you to do is I just want you to notice your arms, the crops of your arms moving up and down. It's only going to be a slight movement, but I want you to close your eyes and just keep asking yourself the question, are they moving? Are they moving? And it doesn't matter if they're moving or not, but you go back to it. And I just want you to notice your arms moving up and down. Are you clear?
Clear.
Yeah? Okay, so we're going to start with the bell. Ria, tell me what did you notice? How did your mind get distracted and what did you do when that happened?
So at first I noticed my heart was beating quite fast. And then I also noticed that there was a lot more pressure on my right shoulder than my left. So I was wondering what that was about. And then there was a bus which beeped outside. So I was just I noticed my mind wandering, but then I remembered that's what mindfulness is all about, just bringing your attention back to the exercise, which I was able to do.
Yeah.
What about you, Virginia?
Well, for me, I also noticed the left fingers, they kept falling down. And I also got distracted by the honking of the bus.
It was a loud honk.
And then I could also hear like people having meetings, but then I just told myself, this isn't the point. The point is to go back to noticing your arms.
So it's the thing, it's the easy thing to control your attention. What do you notice now, like between when you started and now? Do you notice any differences in that?
My breathing feels a lot easier. I think I was just quite tight before, but I think it was the first time in a few days where I've just had sort of 2 minutes of just space to myself. That's what I noticed.
I think usually I just let myself get distracted and I don't go back to what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah. Do you notice anything do you feel sharper? So Ria's saying she noticed that she just feels maybe a little bit calmer, or Virginia, do you feel a little bit more focused, or what do you notice?
I feel a bit more focused.
Feel a little bit more focused. Okay. And did you make any judgments along the way? Did you thinking, well, what's this all about? And why am I doing this? Or...
I think I judged you at the start because
You judged me?
Before I closed my eyes, I saw you with the bell, but you're using a ballpoint pen, and I thought, wow, is that how
I
Were
missed
you
that.
hoping that I had some kind of Buddhist implement that I
I
could?
don't know. I was judging the tool, but it wasn't the point of the
Right.
exercise.
Well, we'll talk about that a little bit later when we talk about effectiveness. Did it make a sound that you wanted it? Did it make the sound?
It sounded not very satisfying to me.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. All right. So, so that's just a mindfulness exercise. I wonder what other people noticed.
Yeah, pop it in the Q&A. You can pop
Yeah,
it in
what you
like,
know.
anonymously, how you felt just now.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Daryl, for that exercise. I think we're now going to move on to one mindfully. So can you just tell us a bit about what that is and how to use it?
Yeah, sure. So what one mindfully is one mindfully is part of mindfulness. And when people talk about mindfulness, what they really talk about is like, what do you do when you're being mindful, or how can I become more mindful? And one of the way, and the one mindfully skill is about how you become a little bit more mindful. And what one mindfully is one mindfully is basically the opposite of multitasking. Now, I know there'll be people out there going, "Oh, I need to multitask because I've got so many different things to do in the world." But the problem you see with the problem with multitasking or not being one mindful is that when we add the pain of the past and the worries about the future, this is how we often get overwhelmed as human beings. So what one mindfully, or we get distracted. Yeah. So another way of looking at not being one mindful is being distracted. Yeah. So if you think about all the accidents that happen in the world, or all the things that where disasters happen, like the car crashes and whatever, what you notice that or the common theme is the person was doing something else. They were either thinking about doing something else, they were either acting something else. Car crashes. Oh, look at that over there, crash. Yeah, or the evidence shows that most car crashes happen when people are looking at other car crashes or something else that's happening instead. So what one mindfulness does is it encourages us to not exhaust the brain, because when we multitask, our brains get exhausted, and when our brains get exhausted, we make more mistakes. And if you're inclined to blame or judge yourself for making mistakes, then this just goes up and up and up, and it hits a sort of a spiral.
But we have some questions in the chat. So I'm going to pass one of these over to Daryl. So one of them is, my work culture doesn't allow me to be one mindful, as there's always multitasking and messages popping up. What do you suggest I do? So Daryl, can you try and answer that?
Yeah, well, you see, the thing is that when you tell people just to focus on one thing at a time, what they often do is they get confused that the idea is that you can't swap tasks. That actually, if I'm, like if I'm cooking a spaghetti bolognese, then I must cook it, I must cook the mince all the way through. But that's not so. You can change tasks. So I can be talking to you now, one mindfully, with all of my attention, and then I can turn and look out of the window with all of my attention, and then I can turn back and talk to you with all of my attention, and then I can write something down with all of my attention. So it's a common myth that you have to actually finish the task. You don't. You just do, I can turn the mince off, look out the window. So you can move your mind around wherever you like. So this shouldn't really get in the way. You can swap tasks. I mean, when we drive, we're not just steering on the wheel, we're having to change the gears. So we can do different tasks, but we do each task one mindfully.
We're now just going to move on to the effectively skill. So Daryl, if you could take it away again, we're going to move on to the next topic.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So what is effectiveness, right? So that lots of people in the world or become obsessed with the idea of what's right or wrong, or what's fair or unfair, or this should be this way or this should be that way. And well, who says that things should be that way? I mean, if you've lived in this world, if you could see the war in Ukraine, you can see all sorts of things going on. You can see people with loads of money, and you can see people with none. So the idea that things should be a certain way is just not true, or that there is a right way to do everything or a wrong way to do something. And this causes a lot of suffering with people, yeah, because they just get caught up in what you call a useless or a righteous anger. And so what effectively does is it changes that idea away from things being right, wrong, good, bad, should, shouldn't, and all of that. And it just asks you, well, what are you trying to do? You know, what is your goal? What am I after doing here? And instead of saying what I did was wrong, you would think, well, does this get me closer to what I want, or does it get me further away from it? And so it uses the idea of effectiveness as a guide to live our lives by. So, if I want to, if I want to keep people coming back onto mindset, yeah, would it, if I want more and more people to come, would it be effective for me to speak in Punjabi? Yeah, would it work if I did it in Punjabi? Would it work for the audience that we've got? No, it wouldn't. People would turn off if they didn't understand the language, right? So it wouldn't be effective. It's not that to say it wouldn't be right or wrong. It would just say it just wouldn't really work. So it's about thinking about what you want and how it gets you in relation to that. So the idea behind it is about this is when people, sometimes we need to let go of our principles. Not sometimes we need to stop trying to impose our views on other people and on situations or on cultures. Yeah. So another way to kind of look at the effectiveness idea is instead of thinking, did I do that right or wrong, is be thinking, with this choice, whose life am I improving? Because very often we make, very often we don't try that. We get caught up in other situations. So what we do is we start to act in the way in what's needed in a situation. So they say play the cards that you've been dealt. That's what they mean. Effectiveness is playing the cards what you dealt. Do what's needed for the situation that you're in, rather than the situation that you wish you were in.